Hey kids, hey kids, hey kids, hey kids. You all know what time it is. It's time for Karch
and Wendy
and Bluster
and Bliss
to tell you what today's adventure is.
Hey kids,
Hey kids,
hey kids,
hey kids. You all know what time it is.
Spring Fields, a Gallery of Seasons story. Spring World, Story 1 by Brian J. Klink. Hi, my name is Wendy, and I'm here to tell you about a fun and festive place, Spring World. You see, Spring World is one of 4 worlds found in the Gallery of Seasons. If you look closely at the Spring World painting, you can see not only me, but my friends. Speaking of friends, my best friend for as long as I can remember is Tang. We do almost everything together. Tang loves to play games and is possibly the most clever resident in Spring World. As you will see in our adventures, these personality traits can be both helpful and a problem. We live in Spring Fields at the base of the Ridge Mountains, a beautiful place with so many fun things to see and do. You have to be careful though, because Spring World is also home to Riptide, Skull, and Viper, and some strange things have been known to happen. But that's a story for later. Let me introduce you to a few more of my friends. This is Lisa. Lisa can sometimes see into the future, but only until the end of the day. Her erratic visioning skills can help you get into or out of trouble. Then there's the Beak Brothers, Sal and Hal. Sal is the smarter of the 2 brothers and can be useful in most situations. While Hal is not quite as sharp, he is loyal and true. Both can fly, which can be helpful when you're adventuring on the coast, especially when you're trying to avoid Spring World's 2 main troublemakers, Skull and Viper. Skull haunts residents of Spring World and all that swim in the sea or roam the shores, believing that the ancestors should still rule the waterfront. Skull can only haunt between sunset and sunrise. The other disruptor in Spring World is Viper, who has the power to move on the ground, under the sand, or in the water with a green eye gaze that can hypnotize. You never know when Skull or Viper will make a mess of your plans. Now that you know where I live and have met Tang and some of my other friends, let's begin today's story. Well, spring fields are fertile lands that cover much of Spring World. The fields are on both sides of natural springs and extend all the way to Pine Tree Pass at the base of the Ridge Mountains. One of our many adventures started on a fine morning, as one might expect in Spring World, with Tang bursting in and asking if I'd like to cross natural springs and visit the Beak Brothers over by Pine Tree Pass. I said, sure, but not until we have breakfast. So, after our strawberry crisp and strawberry juice breakfast, we headed out for the day's adventure. Now, you probably figured out that you can't cross natural springs just anywhere. Why? It's too wide. But if you hike a bit through the spring fields, you will get to a place where it narrows. And the only known bridge in Spring World, but it's old and rickety. In fact, That's what we call it, Rickety Bridge. You should also know that in addition to being rickety, there are a few missing boards, and they are right in the middle where you cross natural springs. Crossing natural springs on Rickety Bridge can be quite scary. Tang said, "I'll go first," then boldly started across. I cautiously followed behind, testing each board before putting all my weight on it. Why? You see, Tang can fly, so there was no fear of falling into natural springs, but I had to be careful with each step. Then Tang effortlessly flew into the air and turned, shouting encouragement. "You can do it! I just know you can do it!" I approached the missing boards, then jumped. Then, after landing safely, I turned to thank Tang for all the encouragement, but as usual, his attention was already moving forward on our adventure. Tang yelled back over his shoulder, "I knew you could do it!" After traveling just a bit further, we could see Pine Tree Pass. We didn't have much further to go, but then the wind changed and the temperature dropped. This meant Skull must be in the area. We had to hurry. Then Skull appeared in the sky above us. The spring air was clearly getting colder. We weren't sure there was enough time to make it to Sal and Hal's house, so we started to run. Suddenly, we saw Sal and Hal peeking out from the pine trees. Sal shouted, "Jump in here with us! You'll be safe!" But Skull was getting ever closer. Tang and I quickly darted into the pines, breathing heavily and ducking under cover. We waited patiently until Skull had left the area. Then we celebrated our narrow escape and thanked Sal and Hal for getting our attention. Hal said, "We heard you were coming to visit, and were waiting for you when Skull showed up. We were just lucky to be near the pines." We all smiled at our good fortune. So that's the story of Spring Fields and our visit to see Sal and Hal. Now you know where they live and where the Rickety Bridge is located down where Natural Springs narrows. You also learned how Tang's encouragement and being brave helped me jump over the missing boards, and how having friends like Hal and Sal can help you out when there's danger. All of us here in Spring World hope you enjoyed our time together, and you will look for more adventures from the Gallery of Seasons. 5 Spring World characters appeared in today's adventure. Can you find them in the Spring World painting? They are Wendy, Tang, Sal, Hal, and Lisa. There they are.